way.
And only getting half of our head.
Now we got one person in right now. So it's the first time we're doing a Google Hangout, but this actually goes to YouTube. So since we've been recording this whole time, it's going to YouTube. So first of all, what do we have to plug, Chris?
To plug?
Yes.
Our services?
We're selling stuff. So yeah, our services.
Well, we're going to discuss getting studies today, and if you're having difficulty with such, we can certainly help.
Yeah, so there's so many ways to go about this, and I wish we can do a screen share. I think there's a way to do it. But so we help sites and CROs get studies of business development. We also help with patient recruitment, and I'm working with Intralinks Via, and they have a new software where you can basically store all your documents in the cloud. All right, so let me introduce everybody. I'm Dan Sfera, this is Chris Sauber, and this is Jasmine, right?
Hello.
Hello there. So Jasmine does a lot of recruitment, and we're going to get into that later. So I guess one of the ways we can start off is right now, study supply is pretty low. So a lot of sites are still being picky, Chris. They're not taking on studies that they would typically turn down. And right now, in June 2015, we can't really afford to do that, right? You got to kind of take what you can
be
get.
Cutting your own throat.
Right. So what do you do in cases like that? Let's say you're a site that focuses on CNS studies, like psychiatry trials. What do you do if you get offered an asthma study? And your first concern may be, hey, I don't have the patients, so therefore I'm going to have to turn it down. Well, my answer to you is never turn down a study unless you know for a fact you absolutely can't do it, like a surgery study if you don't have surgeons, or what else? Like oncology trials if you don't have connections with oncologists. So what do you do when you get approached with a general medicine study that your site does not usually conduct? You bring on recruiters, right? Like Miss Jasmine. So they work, they're called community outreach specialists. And actually right after this webinar, we're going to be taking Jasmine out to the community, showing her some of the places we go to find study participants, and kind of teaching her all the protocols that we have, inclusion, exclusion, all the important stuff. So what kind of things are you going to be focusing on, Chris?
In regards to what?
In regards to teaching Jasmine the community outreach.
Well, it's dependent upon the indication. If you're focusing on CNS, which right now, as Dan had mentioned, there's very limited trials in this arena. But if it's CNS, you're going to look at board and cares, room and boards, housing facilities. I would say with more general medicine, you're going to look at practitioners that specialize in this field. Asthma, you could even use a general practitioner. That could be a nice source for many indications. So we're going to take Jasmine to a doctor in probably general medicine, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So there's so many ways to go about it. Like there's the residential facilities where the study participants live. There's day programs. There's support groups. Then there's physicians' offices, like Chris was just talking about. So Jasmine is going to go in there. She's a rep for our site or our sites, and she just talks and approaches the physicians about the studies we have. And it's actually worked out well in the past. We just did this recently with a neurologist.
We did.
And how did that turn out?
Turned out very well. So we already referred a couple of patients. Unfortunately, we have not been given the go-ahead to start screening, so couldn't use the patients, but he's already referring.
And what have you learned, Jasmine, so far about recruitment? People want to know.
Give the people what they want.
You have no idea. So we got to teach you how to do it then.
Yeah.
Wow.
They have to teach me because they haven't taught me anything.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Good point.
I'm just kidding. You have to really know what you're talking about when you recruit. You have to approach things in an appropriate manner and understand what you're talking about, not to scare the patients. Give them an understanding that as a clinical research, it's not a scary thing to do. So they're just giving me guidance so I can.
I would say the key is just being comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
If you seem nervous with anything, not just recruiting or the medical profession, but anything, if you're nervous, people aren't going to value what you're saying.
True.
It lends to inexperience.
Yeah, and you can also utilize people like Jasmine, not just to recruit study participants, but also, like, especially when they're making those inroads into the physician's offices. I mean, it should cost you nothing to add a sub-I to your site. I know for us, we don't really pay sub-Is.
At most $500.
Unless they come in and do a procedure, right? So, but many times sub-Is want to get research experience and they have no research experience.
Mm-hmm.
So in exchange for their time and maybe some referrals, you're giving them a study they could put on their resume. And you can tell them, hey, in a year or two, we can get you some studies because now you'll have experience and you can be the PI. So this leads us into, I opened with the recruitment because a lot of people right now are hesitant to take on studies that they are uncomfortable doing. And there is some truth to that. Obviously, like I said, you're not going to do a brain surgery study like we are, by the way, right? Like we're doing a brain surgery study, but that's because
At a number of sites.
At a number of sites, because those sites happen to have the capabilities. And actually, one of those sites did not have the capabilities at first. They had a general surgeon. They learned that they needed a brain surgeon, a neurosurgeon. So what they did was they asked their PI, who was the general surgeon, if he knew any colleagues who'd be interested. And within 5 minutes, he called somebody up and he said, yes. So we got the study, and that's like a multi-million-dollar project, right? So if you were to say no, if we would have said no at first, if we were less experienced, because
Come across this roadblock and just no, can't do it.
yeah, because the site actually wanted to turn it down, and Chris and I said, no, take it. Let's do at least do the site selection visit and see if you can do it. It's going to cost you nothing to host the site selection visit, maybe just some time. All right. So now this webinar is all about getting studies. So obviously, clinicaltrials.gov is a way to do it. And I'm going to figure out how to do a screen share.
You're so funny.
Let's see. Well, actually, we'll do the screen share next time. But everyone knows clinicaltrials.gov. You go on there, you look for studies you want, you find the study contact info. On my page, the clinicaltrialsguru.com, if you go to the tab Get More Studies, you'll find like a 1-hour video on how to get studies. So I wanted to focus specifically on, in this last like 15, 20 minutes that we have, how to use social media. So the first thing people do when they go on clinicaltrials.gov, and let's say you find a study that your site would like to do. So they go there, they scroll down, they hope to find the contact info. And most of the time you actually won't find it, right? Like what percentage of the time will an email not be there? Like it's more often than not.
Yeah, so you're looking at probably a third of the time, if not less, that you'll find contact information.
So 1/3 of the time you will, and then 2 out of those 3 times you will not find anything. So this is what you can do. You obviously know the company, right? A lot of people have Zoom Info accounts. Basically what Zoom Info is it's a tool used for business development, and you can sync it with your Salesforce.com account. I personally don't use a Salesforce account, but we have Zoom Info, and what we do is we go to that company on Zoom Info, and you type in, if it's a big company, you'll type in clinical research, and you'll find like a bunch of people, like their senior CRAs. If it's a sponsor, you'll find like their senior CRAs or their chief of research. If it's a smaller one like biotech, you'll only find like 2 or 3 people. And sometimes you'll find the CEO, sometimes you'll find the head of research, the director of research. And now what Zoom Info does, and I believe it's like $10 a month, or it could be like $15 a month, it will reveal the contact information to you. So what you can do is send them an email, give them a phone call, you'll have their address, put them on your list. And a lot of people use CRM, which is customer retention software. I don't know why it's CRM. I can't remember the exact acronym. But they put them in there, and in real estate, they use this all the time. So if you have a lead, like in our case, we have a study lead. You put the study lead in your CRM, and it reminds you when you need to reach out. Well, we do it the old-fashioned way. I put it in Evernote. You use Excel, right? you have like a person to follow up
Yep.
file,
Yep.
right? So it tells you the last time you followed up. And what everyone does, the first thing they do, because we're going to get into social media and how to use this, is they try to, once they email the person information about their site, which by the way, these people get like tons of emails every day. They probably get like 20, 30 emails depending on the size of the company and how many studies they have. So the chance of your email getting read is 50-50. Really, it's probably less than that, especially the first time. So
Well,
that's,
of course, it depends on how badly they need sites too.
depends on how badly they need sites. But what I've learned is when a sponsor puts something on clinicaltrials.gov, they don't put it very early. Like they'll put it on there, even if it says not yet recruiting. They'll put it on clinicaltrials.gov like when they're just about to start recruiting.
Yep.
Yeah, there's specific rules as to when they should, but they're not enforced that well. So sponsors just kind of put them on there like whenever they feel like it. But what I've learned is that usually when they put it on there, they've already found most of their sites. So your best bet is to be an add-on site, which happens a lot. And especially if you're a brand new clinic, that's probably, my bet would be that would be one way of you getting your first study is being an add-on site. Because you're not going to just get a feasibility questionnaire. They don't fall out of the sky and hit you in the head. Like you're going to probably be an add-on site first, and then you'll start getting feasibility questionnaires from that CRO.
Unless, of course, we're helping.
Unless, of course, very good sales point, Chris. This is why we have Chris Sauber here, okay? Yes, unless we're helping, we'll get you 10 studies. When?
10 study leads.
10 leads a month, okay? But, so let's back up. So when you find that person's info on clinicaltrials.gov, or if you don't, you go to Zoom info and then you can find somebody's info there. You email, you call, follow up regularly. Now, what's the next step? The next step is to go to LinkedIn. You got to go, in this industry, you have to be on LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn?
I will be tomorrow.
Today.
All that social media you use and you're not on LinkedIn?
I know, it's bad.
Yeah, Snapchat does nothing for business development.
That's all you. Don't
I am
look
on
at me.
Snapchat. That's for patient recruitment, though. All right.
Mm.
LinkedIn. We're getting one tomorrow. All right, so here's what you do. You add that person on LinkedIn, and the first thing people want to do is email them, like spam them a message. So what I do is I just let the default LinkedIn invitation, I'd like to add you to my network on LinkedIn. I just do that. I don't spam them there because these people, again, they get like tons of these things. So they're probably not going to accept you if you send them that. People don't go on these things to be sold to. They go on these things to connect with other people and to build their businesses up. And CROs and sponsors, they do need sites, but they need sites and they want to hear from sites when they need them, not 365, 24/7, right? So send them the standard LinkedIn invite. And then what you can do is stalk the hell out of them. So this is where you would be good. No offense.
What, am I a stalker now?
Yeah. Stalk the
thanks.
hell out of
Give
these
me
people.
/stalker
Yeah, so you go to Twitter. Okay, I did this last week
last week.
with someone from a big sponsor.
You stalked them?
Yeah.
That's awkward.
It was awkward. They had a name. They had a name where there weren't that many names in the world of this person. So I found them on LinkedIn, added them. They accepted me, right? Then I Googled their name, and I sent them the email. I haven't called yet, but I will call. And I'm going to have my interns do a handwritten letter, and then I'll sign it. We're going to get into that in the next 10 minutes or so because I'm talking a lot now, right?
Always.
But, so back to stalking people, all right?
I mean, lean over and whisper.
It works. It works. Look, these people are on LinkedIn. They're dressed up. They're buttoned up. They got their ties, suits on. That's not the place to spam them. And going on other social networks, you're not going there to spam them. You're going there to learn more about them. So first place I go to is Twitter. Now, from our industry, 2 out of 10 people who are on LinkedIn are going to be on Twitter. It's just not that highly utilized in our industry for whatever reason. So you might get lucky and find them on Twitter, and you know what Twitter's good for is interacting with people, just like randomly out of the blue. Twitter's like a cocktail party. So you go on Twitter. If you get lucky, 2 out of 10 times you will find that person on there. Look at their stream. That's not the time to go pitch them and say, hey, my name is Dan. I got all these sites. Give me studies now. That's not what I do. I go on there. If they talk about the Chicago Bears, I say, hey, Jay Cutler really sucks, right? Sorry about that. And I might put an emoji of a crying face, right? That's my favorite.
It is your favorite.
Yes. So that opens up a dialogue between this person. If we do enough of that, they will eventually click on my Twitter, and I have a link there. My link goes to dansfair.com, but you can see all my clinical trials content on there as well. Now, what do you do the rest of the 8 out of 10 times? You look at every other social network you can possibly think of. The one place I don't really go to is Facebook. We'll get back to it later. I have a different strategy for Facebook. But let's go with Instagram. You go on Instagram, same kind of thing. And this is actually what I did. This person was not on Twitter, but they were on Instagram and they were on Pinterest. And I was able to learn a lot more about this person from Instagram and Pinterest. On Pinterest, he pinned a lot of stuff about the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. Both. Right? So I just saw like an equal amount of content. So I actually reached out and asked them, hey, which one do you like more? What's up with this? They're like rivals. So he got back to me, and guess what? Pretty soon, he saw me on LinkedIn. He saw me on Instagram. He saw my email. He's going to see my handwritten letter. He's going to get my phone call. And that's like 6 times that he's heard my name. So eventually, he's going to try to figure out who the hell I am.
So he'll either reach out to you or the police, one or the other.
Yeah, he'll either reach out to me or call the cops, right? So this is what stalking does, okay? Now let's say you find somebody who is not on any social network, except probably Facebook, all right? Because almost everybody I know is on Facebook. They have like 7 billion profiles, if not more. So chances are that they are on there, but most people just don't randomly add people who would like to connect with them, right? What do you do if people, have you reached your 5,000 limit?
I'm pretty close.
You're close.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you accept anybody?
I used to, and
Not
then
anymore.
not anymore.
Not anymore. So back in the day, people did. Now there's more appropriate places like Snapchat. She'll basically add you on there, right?
Yeah.
Whoever wants to be your friend on Snapchat. So Facebook, here's what I do with Facebook, right? What I would do on Facebook, there's something called dark posts, which are also, now I believe they're called unpublished posts. So let's say you found someone on clinicaltrials.gov that works at Acme Biotech. There's no such thing, but let's say Acme Biotech, okay? They're not on Instagram, they're not on Pinterest, they're not on Twitter. You can't find their email, although you probably should find somebody's email from that biotech on Zoom info. So I think it's worth $10 a month, even $20 a month, whatever it is, because you can get that contact info. So then you can still reach out by email, telephone, and handwritten letter, which I'm going to get into right now. But on Facebook, what you do an unpublished post. What that means is no one on your friends list is going to see it. You can actually specifically target just the people you want to target. So if this person works at Acme Biotech, you're going to target people who like that page, because if he works there, chances are he liked that page, right? So that's all you do. You target people who like that particular page, and you can set up a budget. I usually use like $60, where you only get paid when someone clicks. So what I would do here is create a piece of content that your person, the person you're trying to target, would be interested in. So if they are the head of research for like central nervous system studies, what I would do as a research site is maybe have an infographic of my site's database, all de-identified of course, but have some metrics about our past performance, maybe have a little article on tips for how sponsors can make these studies go more smoothly, retention tips, recruitment tips. These are things they care about. They're directly responsible for making sure patients enroll in the study and making sure patients stay in the study. Ultimately, the PIs are responsible for that, but the sponsors the CROs and the sponsors, that's their end game. That's what they want. So what you want to do is figure out what this person wants to learn and reverse engineer it to where that content, when they see it on a Facebook as an ad, they click on it and then they can learn more about your company. And if you do that, followed up with email and phone call and handwritten letter, you can, make sure. So once you do that, you can definitely follow up with the people that way as far as getting the study. Last thing I would do, and we'll wrap up with this. So the last thing I would do is people get so many emails, these project managers. I get tons of emails. I don't get back to everybody's email. These project managers, when study supply is super low, they get tons of emails. They get bombarded with emails. So I would still send the email because there's a chance that they can read it. But what I would do, and what a lot of people surprisingly don't do, is send handwritten letters and maybe create like some marketing material about your site, like have some metrics. The same thing you would do on the Facebook dark post or the Facebook unpublished post. Find out what study it is that you're going for, and then put metrics about your site. Or if you, let's say you don't have any experience in research, put metrics on your investigator's private practice. Yeah. Like if it's a schizophrenia study, you want to put metrics from how many schizophrenic patients this person sees every month, what kind of antipsychotics they prescribe. All the stuff that you would typically see in a feasibility questionnaire is what you want to include in your direct mail campaign to these people. And you got to handwrite the letters, make it very personable. So if you stalk them on Instagram or Pinterest, you can maybe include something about their hobbies. Like, hey, I noticed you like the Seattle Seahawks. Just start like that so that it's more personable. It doesn't feel like it's a mass mailer going out. Definitely handwrite the address and your return address, and then put a stamp instead of one of those metered things. But it's surprising how very few people use mail anymore to target project managers or anybody in general. Like I get tons of emails every day, and I get like 0 letters. And if someone sent me a letter, I'd read it. Even if it was crap, I would still open it and read it. That's a lot more than you can say about email conversion rates. So hopefully this helps. Chris left. Jasmine, anything else?
Guys.
You want to add anything? Are we going to get some studies?
I'm pretty sure he said it all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I missed some stuff. And I want to see if there's a way to read comments. No. Next time, okay? Thank you guys for watching. This is Dan, Jasmine, and Chris just left from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Welcome back, Chris. We're done. You want to say anything?
Thank you for attending.
Oh, you want to pitch any more of our services one more time?
Anything you need help with, just contact us and we may have a solution.
There you go, Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Also check out Intralinks via. I use it for all my sites. Fantastic. Remote monitoring is the future. Risk-based monitoring is already here, and you want to be proactive as a site. Maybe that's a patient.
It probably is.
You want to be proactive as a site, so get Intralinks via. Okay, email me if you want to learn more. Thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned for next month's webinar. We'll find a topic. Maybe it'll be about recruitment.
It should be.
Okay.
Always about me.
You'll be prepared for that.
My goodness.
Thank you, guys.